Hi, I'm Andrew Bennett. I'm Managing Director of TAMS Packaging. We're a printed cardboard packaging manufacturer. And the aim of this video is to just give you an insight into the possibilities that printed packaging can bring you in terms of the sales potential for that market. You'll all be very familiar with this, the corrugated carton. Multitude of shapes and sizes and designs, but designed to carry products safely to their end destination. The question we want you to ask is, what might be in the box? Because this is where the important value comes in when it comes to printed solid board packaging. Typically a box like this obviously depends on quantities, but you're probably looking £1.30, £1.50 a box. That's your sale value, that's the value of your order. But if you look at this, these are the cartons inside the boxes. This is what we manufacture. And looking at this box, you're looking at a value of £1.30, £1.50 for the carton, but the total value of these is £28.50. So your order value is exponentially higher if you can get a client on board with the printed packaging as well as your traditional corrugated packaging, bubble wrap and tape. And that's what this series of videos is about. It's about showing you the potential and also giving you the tools and understanding of how to develop that potential, win new clients and keep them on board for the future. So again, thinking about printed packaging. Your client is far more emotive about their printed packaging. It reflects their brand, it's part of their sales process. Once you've got a client on board with you that's placed an order for their printed packaging, they are far, far more likely to come back to you on a regular basis, and it's not quite so price driven. Something like this, it's always one of my favourite, beer for dogs. It's called Bottom Sniffer. So if anybody's got dogs out there, this is what you need for them for Christmas. The critical part of this is, once you've got this cutter, once you've got this artwork, the client is unlikely to look elsewhere. The cost of the packaging relative to the product is relatively low. So long as they're confident in the supply chain, they're confident in the quality, why would they change? 80% of our orders, in fact more than 80% of our orders, repeat. And that gives you a very good indication of the client loyalty you can generate by concentrating on the printed solid board packaging. Thinking back to the carton, every supplier can supply that carton. Yes, it will be down to relationships, yes, it will be down to the supply chain, the reliability, but fundamentally that sale is down to your relationship and the price. Once you've got a client committed to something like this, even if the buyer changes, it's far easier to come straight back to you and say, I need some more of these. And that's what they do time and time again. One of the biggest issues for this decade and this generation is sustainability. How can we reduce our reliance on plastic packaging, plastic products, and stop that waste going into landfill? Cardboard is an obvious solution, but there are other things to consider when you're talking to your clients about their sustainable approach to their packaging. And it's a really good conversation starter. Even if they choose not to follow the route of something sustainable, at least you've started that conversation about exploring different options, exploring different ideas, and you're building the strength of that relationship with your client. This is an ideal example. Typical sandwich box. Obviously the cardboard is recyclable, but previously this would be a poly window that would end up in landfill. In actual fact, this is now an acetate window. It's fully compostable in 26 weeks in household composting. Completely sustainable and a product that is not going to damage the environment. And it's those sorts of conversations you would have with your clients to build their confidence in you and build that relationship between you and your client for a long-term future. So, big question is, how can we support you? How can we help you find and win those opportunities and take it from quote and inquiry through to order? And that's our role. We are very much here to support our clients, give them all the information, advice and guidance they need to get from inquiry to purchase order. Let me talk to you a little bit about the design solutions. Behind me you'll see a multitude of different designs. Most of what we do is based around these. This probably accounts for 75 to 80% of the products that we design. and it's about changing the measurements and the dimensions of them to suit your client. We've also got these in this reference book. It gives you all the different packaging styles, and there's a PDF that's unbranded that you can download and share with your clients. And this will give you all the different designs and styles that you can work with and come up with different solutions to suit every client and every application. What is important to remember is your client may already have an existing packaging solution. That's not necessarily what's best for them. And what we like to do, we like to explore different options. And ideally, what we will do is we'll quote, this is what you've got at the moment, but also we'll look at that and see if there's a better solution. It may be a major change, it may be a slight tweak, but at least it shows we're putting the thinking in and we're adding value to the client. Let me give you a couple of examples. This client had cake boxes, very simple. They were used to send out fairly small little cakes. The problem they had was storage, because these were taking up too much space. So we came up with a very simple solution which just tucked in and could be supplied flat. Didn't change the cost, didn't change the production, didn't actually change the amount of board that it used, but that change to the way we created the carton made it easier for the client and meant they could store more in less space. But it's also about thinking about the client and their brand and their message. How do we make the product fit to the client? Packaging is so important when it comes to the sale. And it's that understanding of the value of packaging that we can bring to you and we can bring to your clients. Again, here's another little example. This is a very upmarket boutique tea company. Based in the centre of London, they have a small boutique shop and they sell high value bespoke teas, mainly in triangular bags. So here's a triangular box. And then inside the triangular box, more triangular boxes to hold triangular bags. I'm not sure I'd spend £21.50 on 5 sachets of tea, but obviously people do. And the reason they do is primarily the quality of the presentation of the packaging, because that is going to make a lovely gift. Far greater value than 5 little tea bags in a pouch. And it's that sort of innovation, that sort of design that we bring to the party that gives your clients food for thought on how they can do things differently. And part of that sales message is thinking differently. Selling is all about thinking about change. How can we get your clients to change from what they're currently doing to look at things differently and take a different approach? And we are there to support you every step of the way to take from this is what you've got at the moment to this is what you could have. And even if they don't go for this solution, at least you've got that conversation started, at least you've got them engaged and you're starting conversations that you weren't having before. When you're talking to your clients about potential packaging, one of the most important things we need is an actual physical sample of the product they want to send out. And the reason is we want to come up with a perfect solution for them. We want to make sure that the final packaging we design is an exact fit to their product. And experience tells us that for some reason clients aren't that good with rulers. They tell us dimensions, but it's never quite right. It's never quite a snug fit. And the important thing is when you're looking at something like this, so this is going back to my products for dogs again, seems to be my favourite subject. So important that the presentation of these windows line up directly with the design of the packaging. The label itself shows through the packaging, shows through the window, and you can see the right part of the product. So it's not just about fitting the shape of the bottle, it's about fitting the packaging within the product to the product itself. And that's the bit that makes the difference, that makes a little bit of added value to the presentation. The other thing we need to think about is the weight. So how heavy is this? What sort of base does this need in order to make sure these two relatively heavy bottles for a small package aren't going to drop out the bottom as soon as somebody picks it up? So we're looking at dimensions, we're looking at presentation, we're looking at weight, and we're looking at how the product might move around within the packaging in order to come up with the right solution. And again, it goes back to that concept that I've talked about before of not just accepting that what they've already got is the right solution. We don't know how that might have changed over time. We don't know whether the the bottle might have changed, where their pack might have changed. Those little small tweaks that can make it a little bit more snug, slightly better presentation. That's the bit that adds value, again builds that relationship with your clients and builds their confidence in your understanding of their business and what they want to achieve with their packaging. Now, this is obvious. Whenever we're doing a quote, we have to know a quantity. We have to have an idea of how many your client wants to quote on. And to be fair, if it's a new product launch, they might want a huge range of prices. Quite often we get inquiries for 500 of one piece of packaging going up to 50,000. They're doing a pilot scheme to start with, but they need to know where their budget sits when they get the full rollout and it goes across the country into all the supermarkets or wherever. So we're more than happy to do a wide range of quotes for clients. But if you're talking to a client about an existing project and they come to you and say, I want to quote on, let us say, 5,000 of these, it's also important to ask them what the annual usage might be. From our point of view, we're always interested in helping you give your clients best value. And if your client is ordering 3 months supply and they do that 4 times a year, yes, that's good for business, that's good for ordering, it's good for repeats, but is it best for your clients? And what we like to better show them is how they might better get their unit costs down by ordering more to last them through the year. Now that's not going to work if they're thinking of changing their product, so they do need to think about that strategically. But it's all about giving your clients options, showing them that you've got their best interests at heart, giving them the understanding of the possible savings per unit that they can make, and then letting them make those informed decisions. So for us, it's about a partnership. Our partnership with you, your partnership with your client, building the confidence, building the trust, and making sure we've got a long-term relationship that will generate revenue, generate sales, and have a strong partnership for years to come. Another question you need to ask your client is how are they actually packing the physical product into the box or into the packaging? Now there's a number of options for this. So it might be hand packing, in which case they're physically putting it in by hand, or it might be fully automated or part automated. The reason I'm asking this is it will have an impact on the style of packaging that we design, and also thinking about the time that it takes. So going back to my sustainable package sandwich box, this one is packed by machine. So we know that it needs to be possible to heat seal it. That's how it's packed, and we design it accordingly. Now alternatively, it could be put in by hand and then machine sealed, but a more manual process. Slightly different variation on that, it needs a different process in order to make the packaging work for the product. The other option is this could be used in an independent sandwich shop. They make the sandwich, they put it in, and they just close it with a tuck-in closure. Again, completely different process in terms of the way they pack it, and also in terms of the way we design the packaging to suit the process. So it is important you ask those questions on how they're packing the product. Even more important is if they're packing by hand, because that's the crucial thing, is how long does it take to put the product into the packaging and finish the process. Now it might be that we can come up with a simpler solution that saves them time. So it's not necessarily about saving money, it's not necessarily about changing the way the product is packed, but if we can make that process more efficient, make it more time efficient, ultimately they will save money, they'll be able to put more work through their production lines, and they will be in a better place in the future. Again, I keep saying this, I'll keep coming back to us, it's about building those relationships, building your client's confidence in you, and building your relationship with them for the future. Okay, next consideration. You've got a client with a product, they're putting the product into some printed packaging. But how is that product ending up to the end user client, the consumer? Is it going to be retail? Is it going to be sitting on a shelf? Is it going to be sent out mail order? Is it sold through distributors, in which case it needs to have packs that it's sent out in? All of this is important when you're considering the way the product is packed. If it's retail, the most important thing is how it presents on the shelf. Does it grab attention? Is it easy for someone to pick it off and see it and look at it and understand what the product is and make that purchase? If it's online, it's far more about how secure is the package. They've already bought it. They've seen the picture of it online. They know what they're getting. So it's how can we make sure that the product is secure, that when it arrives in good condition. And we can take that a stage further when we think about online. Is it a consumer product that people are likely to consume themselves, or is it something that's more likely to be used as a gift? And both of those need considerations into what the consumer is likely to be doing with it when they receive it. It should be in perfect condition, but how are they then going to pass it on to the person they're giving it to? And these are all the sorts of things we think about when we're thinking about packaging, when we're designing the solutions and helping your client come up with the right answer. It's all about helping you ask the right questions. And the more questions you ask, the more information we have, the more information you share with us, the better we can come up with the right solution for your client. And what we want to do, we want to build on that relationship and make sure we've got the full understanding we need in order to get it right first time. And now the final question. Ask your clients to open up a bit. Talk to them about their packaging. Ask them if they've had any issues in the past. Have they had problems with the product falling out of the box? Have they had issues with maybe the product leaking it, damaging the packaging? So many things can potentially go wrong. Hopefully not. Hopefully they've got the perfect solution. But it's always useful to us to know what problems they might have had in the past so we can flag those up with the designers and make sure we're hitting it right first time. And that can be from anything. It can be from the actual physical design of the packaging to the print, to the material. It can be something to do with one of their distributors. There are so many people involved in that decision making and supply chain. There will potentially always be some issues. Perhaps some we can't overcome. But it's always worthwhile flagging up with the client as to, have there been issues? Then when you go back to them, you can say, here's your quote, here's your sample, and by the way, we've solved that problem for you. It shouldn't happen again. Building relationships, building trust, building confidence, and that's the bit that's going to make sure you have longevity with your clients. Okay, this is the good bit. I want you to talk you through a step-by-step process from that initial conversation you have with your client to securing the order, and how we help you every step of the way. We've talked about the questions you need to ask. So what happens then? Once you've got that information, what do we do with that information in order to help you start the conversations and get you onto the road to securing that sale? First thing we're going to look at is the pricing. And we always try and quote more than one option for your clients, whether that's different quantities or different styles. It gives them options, gives them food for thought, shows them that we're interested in helping them make the right decision. And what we ask you to do is, once you've got that initial inquiry, is to go back to your client and say, are we in the right sort of budget? Does that work for them? We don't want to go too far down the process unless we've got that conversation on it. We're not asking for any commitment at this stage. All we're asking them to say is, yep, that sounds about right, that's affordable, we're on the right track. The next stage to it is the sampling. Now, this will depend on client to client, where they are in their process. But typically, they'll give us a sample of the product they want to pack, and we will use our CAD design software to design the right packaging solution for them. And you can see this the way that we do that on screen. We've very, very experienced CAD designers who are rather good at thinking inside and outside the box, which is our tagline. So coming up with different solutions that will inspire your clients and get them to think differently. Once we've done the CAD design, we can share that with the clients. They can see it visually what they're going to get. But more importantly, the bit that usually gets them over the line is the sample. And we can CAD cut the samples. We can make white dummies. We can even have these printed, so we can make a physical dummy of what the final product is going to look like. It's a pretty much exact replica of what they're going to get with the finished product. To be fair, it's not entirely perfect because the process is slightly different, but to within a few microns of a millimetre, this is what they're going to get. And particularly when you're talking to your client about something slightly different to what they've already had, we know from experience and the feedback we get from our clients that your clients will like this. They like to see that physical sample. But again, as I said before, we don't really want to go to the expense of this until we've got that commitment that yes, we're in the right sort of ballpark, because then you've already started to engage your client. You've already started to add value to the process. You've already started to get them on board. And once you get to this stage, they've already said they're happy with the budget. So long as they're happy with the price, then we're well on the track to securing the order. But it's not just about the outside of the box. What we also want to be thinking about is what goes in here. How is the product going to be held in place? And that might be something as simple as this. This is sort of chocolate box dividers. Again, this goes back to the question of sustainability. Quite often these were previously plastic, and clients want to get away from plastics. So how can we come up with different solutions that are cardboard and fully recyclable, fully sustainable, that gives them another option and gives them a different way of thinking? Or alternatively, simple trays like this, designed to keep all the various elements of that product in place, neat and tidy, so when it arrives to the client it looks exactly how it should look and all the elements of the package aren't flying around all over the place looking untidy. So it's about the full solution, not just about the outer packaging, what goes in it, to the whole presentation does the job and adds value to the product. So as I said all along, we're here to help you and support you in any way we can to get your client on board and get a project started and right the way through to the finished solution and the order onto your order book. And what we have here, we have a green screen. So we can use this to be part of your team. We can put your logo in the background, we can have a neutral background or a video with the factory running. Whatever you like, as far as your client is concerned, we're an integral part of your team. They will never hear the name TAMS. They don't need to know who I am or whichever member of our team is working with you. They don't need to know their names. We'll be part of your team and we'll work with you to understand your client's objectives, understand what they need to achieve and come up with the right solution. It's all about teamwork, working with you, building trust, building confidence and being right by your side to get through to that final order. Okay, so you've gone through the step-by-step process, you've talked your client through it, they've seen the sample, they've placed the order. The order goes in production, gets delivered, your client's happy. But we don't want it to stop there. We want you to start thinking about the next order. Asking your client how long that is likely to last them, following that up. We all know that supply lines, supply times can change. So it's about being proactive with your client and talking to them at the right time to say, do they need to repeat their order? If it gets too close, we don't want to have to rush. Most clients can predict fairly consistently the levels of packaging they're going to need. We also know from experience that most clients don't do that. So it's about being proactive with them, asking them those questions at the right time to make sure that going forward there is no rush, there is no panic and your client doesn't run out of its packaging. So, hope you found that helpful. As I said right at the start, we're here to support you every step of the way, to give you all the advice and training and guidance you need in order to get from initial inquiry, initial opportunity, right the way through to that sale. And long term, build that confidence and trust with your client for regular repeat business for a long way into the future. And I want to go back to my initial point about the value. This is the critical part of it. £1.30, £1.50 for your corrugated carton with a little bit of tape on it. But the value of the boxes inside, this one box, £28.50 of printed packaging. And that's really my closing message to you. There's huge opportunity for exponential increase in sales by thinking about the value of the printed packaging. And I know it can be daunting to take on bespoke products. I know it can be daunting to take on something new, but we are genuinely here to help you. So if you're not sure, ask the question. If you're really not sure, we're more than happy to jump on a Zoom call with a client. We'll talk them through it. We'll get the information we need. It's going to be your sale. They won't know who we are. We're part of your team. And the most important thing is we work together to get that order across the line. Thank you.